Okay, now we're going to talk about fishing tackle. So there's 3 or 4 or 5 different species of fish in this lake. The main ones are walleye and northern pike, and then you have sauger, goldeye, which are smaller, sort of perch-like fish. I think they are part of the perch family. But really what we're fishing for are the northern pike and the walleye. There are not lake trout in this lake. They are only in deeper lakes. There's not smallmouth bass in this lake. This lake is far too far north in Canada to support smallmouth bass. So, 2 kinds of fish. Let's just talk about walleye and northern pike for a little bit. They obviously are all in the same lake together. They generally hang out in different places, but when you're fishing for walleye, oftentimes you'll hook a pike and vice versa. And so what you use for tackle is really it's just a guess for kind of the area that you're fishing. So for example, if you see a quiet bay or pool of water that's pretty shallow, maybe with some weeds coming up, that's a great northern pike place. You could catch a walleye there, but you're highly likely to run into some big northern pike, and big northern pike will be 30, 40 inches, sometimes 45, sometimes bigger than that. I think a master angler is like 42, 43 inch pike. And so it's a 10 pound, 15 pound fish. I mean, they're big, they're strong, they're all muscle, they're prehistoric animals. They act like, man, I've only got a couple of weeks here to get some food that's got to last me through the winter, so I'm going to kill everything I see. And so when it comes to northern pike, you want a heavier rod. Let me grab a couple over here. You want a heavier rod with heavier line, and like this particular rod is an Ambassador, doesn't matter, Abu Garcia Ambassador, tournament grade, 12 to 25 pound test it says. That's perfect for northern pike. You can run 10, 12, 15 pound line. It's a stiff rod because when they grab your lure, you got to strike them. They've got, you need to look up northern pike if you haven't seen them. They've got a long bony mouth, lots of sharp, razor sharp teeth, and you're going to need let's see here. You're going to need lures on wire leaders. So you can see this Rapala, this jointed Rapala, and you can see I've got a wire leader on it. And so be sure that you buy some. Here's a bag of premium leader kit, 24 wire leaders, and you can just see what they are. There's a swivel on both ends. One end you hook to the lure like this one, and then the other end you tie to your line like this one had line tied to it. And you can see this one's actually bent, and that's because it's been in the action. And the northern pike, it's just the way their eyes are set on the side of their face, and they have this long mouth. When they attack your lure, a lot of times they come up like a shark and they just knock it out of the water, or they bite the leader, or they bite the tail. You don't know, but the key is they need to bite somewhere in here and not up here where your line is, because if they bite where your line is, it's highly likely they're going to snap your line. You're going to lose your $5 lure or whatever, and you're not going to catch the fish. So when you're going for northern, this is my suggestion, by the way, you want a heavier rod. You want lures. We'll talk about more lures here in a minute, that are relatively sturdy because they're going to get chomped on by a lot of teeth. And you're going to want wire leaders, and you're going to want line that's 10 pounds to 20 pounds, somewhere in there. I don't know that you really need 20 pounds. If you're running a wire leader, a 12 pound or something like that, if your brake is set correctly on your reel, you're in good shape. So let's stick with kind of the northern pike mentality. Let me show you some lures here. I've got some stuff laid out here for you. So, northern pike stuff. This is called a 5 of diamonds for obvious reasons. Daredevil is the brand. This is the quintessential northern pike lure. I'm just looking, it says Dearborn, Michigan Husky Junior. Now this one is huge. This one is, I don't know what that is, maybe 3-4 inches right there, and then a massive treble hook. This one is much smaller, and by the way, you'll catch fish on both of them. This one is, you know, 2 to 3 inches, and then another inch on the treble hook. You'll catch fish on both of those, and you'll catch the same fish probably on both those. So it's not always bigger lure equals bigger fish, but those are great lures. A couple reasons. One, you can see this one's kind of scarred up. It's been in the battle. The northern pike have absolutely scratched it up with their teeth. They've attacked it. It's been pulled through, you know, hundreds of weeds and just jerking it out of the water and stuff. So they are very durable and they last a long time. This is called a sook, and it's basically a stick with a couple of treble hooks. And so generally you'll catch northern pike in shallower water. Their eyes are kind of on top of their head. They feed above them. They like to attack stuff. And so I love topwater lures for northern pike. It's just exciting. They come up and bubble up like a shark on Shark Week, and they come flying out of the water, and sometimes they take the hook and sometimes they don't, but you get a lot of action. Northern also will come back if you don't catch them on the first cast, and you see where they've trailed your lure or something. You can throw back over them, and they very often will come back and let you get them. This is another very common topwater kind of lure, just something with some spinners here that gets their attention and travels along the top of the water, so it leaves a ripple effect on the top of the water, and they love that kind of stuff. It's just fun fishing in that kind of environment. You can bring Rapala kind of lures, and this will catch northern and walleye. They just get beat up, but you can. This is something else. This is a MEPS kind of lure, and by the way, the colors don't really matter. I mean, you bring different things. This is a MEPS number 5, but you'll be dragging this through the water at 2, 3, 4 feet underwater, and you can catch northern or walleye on these. So that's more lures. Let's see what else we have over here. This is a small MEPS, and any kind of, this is a Cyclops, any kind of a heavy steel kind of lure will be fine. There's one called a Dr. Spoon. Let me see if I have, no, I don't have a Dr. Spoon out. Let's look in here. Oops. Let's see what we got here. I do have a couple things, by the way. So this is a Johnson Silver Minnow, if you can see it. Now, silver minnows, they run weedless, so that's what this is right here, this wire in front of the hook. It's just a big single hook. And by the way, we usually clamp the barbs down on the hooks, just makes it easier to get the fish off. But this thing runs weedless, so you can throw it into weed beds and drag it through, and for the most part you'll not get hung up. And you can see I have a wire leader already on this one, so it's been in the action. You can see where I cut it off there. But some wire leaders are, 4 inches long, some are 6. This one's probably 10 inches, something like that. Let's see what else we have over here. We talked about topwaters. This is another topwater. Makes a lot of racket and comes across. Let's see. I mean, you can see, by the way, this is overkill. I don't plan to bring this entire box unless I'm outfitting 2 or 3 people. My dad, my brother, whatever. So there's a lot of stuff in here I would pick through. But I would have a few of those weedless. Here's a weedless 5 of diamonds. I didn't really show you this one, but you see it's got the weedless thing. So weedless 5 of diamonds. This is called a Dr. Spoon. I was mentioning this, and it's the shape of an old medicine spoon. You can kind of see, here's the handle, and that's kind of the scoop, but it's got a hook on it, and the fish like them. So anyway, I'm showing you a lot of stuff, and I will tell you, some people I've seen show up with 20 lures, and that's it, and that's great, and they're catching the same amount of fish as some guy, me, or somebody who brings a tackle box that has 200 lures. I mean, you can only have 1 lure in the water at a time. If you happen to have what the fish like and you're catching fish, The only thing you risk by bringing a minimal amount of lures is if you lose the 2 or 3 or 4 that you're really having the most luck with, they snap your line off or they bite your line or whatever, you get it caught, you know, on a rock underwater and you can't get it loose, you know, you only have a few left. But just depends on kind of what your appetite is for going shopping for lures. So that's kind of northern pike. They're aggressive fish. They're a topwater feeder. They cook up great. By the way, I had some people ask about this lake. The lake we're going to is a trophy lake, a catch and release lake. So this isn't the kind of lake where you want to show up and plan to bring 50 pounds of fish meat home. They allow us, we catch whatever we want to eat. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But you don't want to, in fact, I don't like to fish lakes where they allow people to bring mass quantities of meat home, because what you find is the quality of fish in the lake aren't that good. They've all been caught and killed and brought home, and every year you have a new hatch, so everything you catch is generally pretty small. This kind of lake, all the big fish get caught and released. When you catch medium-sized walleye, things like that, you want to have a shore lunch, by all means, throw them on the stringer, meet up on a rock, or start a fire on a rock safely, and you'll have a kit for shore lunch. But and we'd like to do that. Look, my brother and dad and I, we love to eat fish every day while we're there, and there's nothing like fresh walleye right out of the lake. So you'll find us doing that. Let's see what else we have over here. All right, for the